13, 12, 11.
The countdown.
10.
Look at that.
That's just the generic StreamYard one.
Wait, I forgot to comb my hair.
It'll be interesting watching the video later to see if any of that voiceover happens. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to a wonderful, what is this, Wednesday night? Let's see what I got going here. Turn this on, turn that on. So what we got going tonight for anybody that joins us during the live stream or watches the video afterwards, I'm going to say up front, this is my first time using StreamYard to do a live streaming. So there's going to be some complications tonight for me trying to work things out. But today's kind of a test run for future videos. Hello, Strange Collectibles. All right. So I can see that pop up.
There he is.
There we go.
Hey.
Technical. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk basically about how you can collect non-sports cards, and most of our examples are going to be Marvel cards, or at least for me, how you can collect non-sports cards on a budget, meaning not spending $500 a month, $1,000 a month, $10,000 a month, because if you follow current box prices, things are not cheap or healthy. So for new collectors that want to try to start collecting cards, they a lot of times just don't know where to start or how to start without overwhelming their checking account to see if they really want to get into this hobby. Or you can build a very fantastic card collection without spending a fortune, because there's a lot of ways of doing it. So how about we just kind of introduce ourselves for those that are on. I'll just start real quick. My name's Don. For those that don't know me, I collect Doctor Strange. I'm what's called a character collector. I've been collecting non-sports cards for 45 plus years now, starting with the original Star Wars set from the grocery store, Alien, Battlestar Galactica, all the early movie sets and Star Wars sets and Star Trek, all those types of sets. So I've got off and on through the years and the decades, I got a pretty good background and experience with buying cards. Currently, my Doctor Strange card collection is probably sitting at around 3,000 Doctor Strange cards. So it started off pretty, I didn't get into cards until really Marvel cards until the 2016 Doctor Strange movie set came out, and then I just started expanding from there. So just my history. William, why don't you introduce yourself real quick?
Well, I'm Spirit of the Cards on Instagram. I mean, everybody knows William Johnson. I collect, Ghost Rider. It's I've been doing it for, say, probably about 5 years now. And that's basically all I do is collect Ghost Rider.
That's enough.
Did you collect cards before Ghost Rider? Sports cards?
Yeah, I did sports cards probably for almost since about 2013. I did sports cards, and then basically did sports, and then I think probably about 2016, 2017 is when I started to get into Marvel cards basically. And it's just when I was a kid, I saw Ghost Rider when I was with my dad, and that completely changed everything for me, and it's always been Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider's a great character. That's awesome. All right, Tony.
I am Crescent Collector on Instagram and Facebook and everything. Just a character collector, just like Donna mentioned, and it's all Moon Knight. I actually collected sports cards back in the 80s and 90s and concentrated on Michael Jordan, which was a chore. Was always into comics, though, was collecting comics back then, but it wasn't like the first thing I was doing. Most of my focus was on the Jordan cards, and was a big Batman fan and kind of gravitated over to Moon Knight at a certain point. And then just as the first Flair and Masterpiece sets came out, I just had a burnout period and just stopped completely, cold turkey. So those actually sat there unfinished for a long time. And then a few years back, probably about 2.5 years now, maybe close to 3, decided to get back into the hobby, but didn't want to do sports, and kind of picked up where I left off with Moon Knight. finished up those sets that were sitting there for a while, and here we are.
Nice. Yeah, my first introduction to comics, as far as buying comics regularly, was Batman. You know, I had way back in the day. I was always into the self-made superheroes, people that didn't have a specific gene that gave them all their abilities. They had to work for it. So I was a big, I did Iron Man through the 90s. I did for DC, I did a lot of Green Lantern, which he's got the ring, but you still have to master the abilities and the power. And then Doctor Strange shortly after that, and he's technically been around for hundreds and thousands of years, so it took him quite a while and quite a few mistakes to get him to where he is now. But no, my favorite character. I love it. So what we're going to do tonight is I got some talking points that I'd like to bring up and talk specifically about some important points I think people who collect Marvel cards may know, may not know, but give them some hints on how they can pick up some good cards at a reasonable price. And then William and Tony can pop in at any time and bring up new categories. We're just going to kind of flow here until we're done. And then if anybody's got any questions, you can, ask them in YouTube chat, or once it's posted after we're done, you can comment on YouTube too, and I'll answer your questions from there too. So outstanding. Well, let's get started with the first topic, and I'll just throw out vintage sets. And what I mean by vintage sets is the sets from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and into the 90s a little bit. The reason why I always recommend these sets to any card collector starting off is these cards were produced at such a high volume, a staggering amounts of cards, 100,000 type numbers of these cards. So when you're buying these cards, you're not competing against rarity and driving the price up for these cards. And that's a huge driver when it comes to card price. But what's nice is these vintage sets, every set that comes out, there's usually some good art in it. But even through the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, there's some great art in those sets that I would put up against any of the art in any modern set that's coming out. So if I can pick up a card for $2 on eBay that's got great art on it, why am I paying 50, 100, 300 bucks for it just because it just came out in the Brooklyn set or one of the brand new sets that just came out? So I'm a big fan of the vintage sets just because I'm a collector. I try to do the whole history. Some of the very first sets, the art was very much like comics. It was a rough around the edges with some of it, but once you start getting, especially into the 80s and the early 90s, it's some fantastic stuff. There's typically no parallels, chases, inserts. It's just the base card set. And which was nice about when you bought these sets originally back in the day, when you bought a box, you were pretty much guaranteed to get the entire set.
Yep.
The boxes weren't built around you having to break cases and still not complete a base set and things like that. So I always bring up vintage sets. I love them. I love a lot of the art, and I'll show some cards here in a little bit after we go around the table. But very reasonably priced. $2 up to $10 is kind of high for the majority of those cards on eBay. But I think they're well worth it, and it's a great start for many collectors. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean it's the heart. I think the most difficult part, if you're a character collector, is I've come to the point of I've translated everything. So I literally put Ghost Rider in a translation, and I literally every single country, I look up a card and see if it's there. And what's cool is, like Don said, is I think the art is at times better than the new sets. I mean, because a lot of the new sets now a lot of it is comic book art. Some of it is original art, but a lot of it is comic book art. Back in the day, a lot of those new sets were either actual original art or they were from renditions of, your comic book legends, your Mike Plug or your stuff like your comic book legends. So I think it's cool when you do collect a character to go through the history of it, get the older stuff, because a lot of older stuff, like you said, is cheap. I mean, you can find cheap. I mean, and there are times that people don't know how to price it. So sometimes, people have it a little higher than other, but most of the time you can get it for a decent price, a lot better than the new stuff now.
Yeah, and what's nice because there's so much of it out there is if you got somebody on the high end on eBay, that same card's out there by 15 or
Mm.
20 other sellers for a
Mhm.
regular price. So
Yeah.
it's really easy to normalize a price for those vintage cards. Yeah.
Yeah, and kind of going into both those aspects. I mean, for me, the older cards represent two things. Respect. It depends on how you collect. I think you always have to have a little bit of respect for what came before to
Mhm.
kind of curate your collection. So you're taking what came out before that started all this insanity for a lot of us, and it gives you a starting point. When I came back and started doing Moon Knight, that's what I did. I started as far back as I could, and then you also kind of have to determine, are you a character collector? Because that'll change kind of how you search for stuff. Are you trying to do complete sets that are, from a while back? That'll kind of dictate your pace and your budget. And to Don's point, never have that knee-jerk reaction on that first one you see and pulling the trigger on it. Guaranteed, you can look even through eBay, sort it by price, lowest first or whatever, and you will see a vast range. Even in modern cards nowadays, you'll find cards that are listed literally $100 apart just because. And it's a seller's mentality. Hey, I'm going to put it out for this, and if somebody bites, great for me. So do a little bit of the research. Older cards tends to be easier because, again, to Don and Will's point, they're not super expensive. Yeah, you may come across somebody who lists it for a lot of money, but if you do a little bit of research, you'll find it. And then use different resources. Go to ComC, go to even Mercari, just to see if you can find those cards and get an idea of what that baseline is for the cost, and start to come up with a little bit of a game plan, not only financially, but how you want to move forward.
Yeah, so it's kind of comparing that to a modern set when you've got your resellers and your box breakers and sellers. Basically, when that set releases, they want to get their cards onto eBay that night and the next day, because that's where they can get usually their best prices for the cards, because they put a high price out. Everybody's got FOMO and they're like, well, if I don't buy it now, I'm not going to get it. And there's no real, a card's worth what you're willing to pay for it straight.
Right.
That's what it comes down to, but there's no comps out for it yet. One thing which I'll talk a little bit about later that kind of crosses this is for new sets. I generally don't buy anything from a new set until 2 months after it's released, to let that price come down and to normalize, and they usually do. But these vintage cards, because so many of them were produced, what's nice about that is, well, one, somebody can put a high price on it and they don't care, because cards don't take up any space like other retail product. You could store thousands of cards in a couple shoe boxes and not have to settle, which is perfectly fine.
If it sits for a year, it sits for a year.
Right. But and never feel shy about offering somebody an offer on eBay, or we'll talk a little bit about some of the Facebook groups and some groups that you can do some selling in and buying in. Some people are like, well, I made an offer and the guy was just totally rude. He got back to me and said, why would you offer that low? And I don't care. I'm putting my offer in because that's what the card is worth to me. It's not my responsibility for you to recover the money you spent on that case and then get, 1 or 2 hits out of, that's not my responsibility. I'll offer. And I've had a lot of people sell, based on my offers, which have been significantly lower than their asking price, because they know, well, some of them know that, they're throwing something on the wall to see if it sticks, so make them an offer.
To add to that and making the offer thing, honestly, when I go into making an offer, I already know that sellers want to get as much as they can for it. I want to get it as cheap as I can, right? So I tend to go into it a little bit more relaxed and say, hey, this is my offer because this is what it's worth to me. If it's not a good price for you, no offense, thanks for your time, and leave it at that. It doesn't have to be a confrontation. If somebody wants to take it there, that's fine. But I think going into it with, this is what this is what works for me. If it works for you, great. If not, thank you anyway, and move along.
So here are some examples of some cards. This is a card from the 91 Incredible Hulk set, a card from the Spider-Man team up, and a card from the 87 Colossals. The most expensive card out of these 3 cards was $1.83 on eBay last Friday when I looked it up. So I think, in my opinion, just because I'm a big comic book fan and things like that, I love this art.
Mm-hmm.
again, classic comic book art, right?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
This one was $1.83 on eBay, and reasonable shipping. Now, and that's the other thing you got to look at on eBay, and that is people will throw something out there for a price, and they'll try to charge you $25 to ship it. If you don't catch it, it's
Yeah.
it's shame on you, because you should have you should have looked at it. So here's another one that I just love. $1.79 on eBay last Friday. And one more. Yes, on the card they call him Shumagorov, because Marvel still had the Conan licensing back then, so they could use the name because it's
they didn't have to change
Shumagorov's
it for the
IP.
movie.
Yeah. For the Doctor Strange 2 movie, it just annoyed the hell out of me that they couldn't call the big tentacle beast Shumagorov. But and then one last 92 Marvel Masterpieces from the Great. One of my favorite cards from when I first started collecting Doctor Strange cards. 99 cents on eBay last Friday for the base card. So we're getting in. We're starting to get into another thing, which we can talk a little bit more about here in a few minutes. But a lot of the same images will keep being used in set after set after set, because they don't want to pay artists for original art or license new art. So you'll see this image in many different sets. What's wrong with getting the 99-cent one, at least for now? That's a great way to get that art into your collection. And
sorry. No, I was gonna say, and for those old sets, if you find something on eBay, what I like to do, especially on the older cards, and again, because of the volume, like Don was mentioning, go to that person's other listings and see what else he has and put in your character, whatever you're looking for. Chances are he's probably got multiples. So now you can get 3 or 4 cards for a couple bucks, and he's going to combine the shipping, and you're saving that way on top of it.
94 Flair.
Yep.
Love this image. $1.95 on eBay last Friday. Fantastic artwork. And then one more from my big, one of my favorite Doctor Strange artists of all time, Ray Lago. I've actually got some original, I've got some of his concept art for this one, but this image was used in many sets over decades, because they keep reusing this art. So this one's got a gold foil. This one's got an actual, not a real signature, but a foil stamp signature. So this card you can get in many different versions, but you can start off with one that costs $1.66.
Right.
And it you can't go wrong. Just because they put this exact same artwork in another set and stamp 1 of 5 on it, in my opinion, does not make it a $100, $500, $1,000 card. Because I've got it right here.
I'm going to buy my own stamper and just stamp all my cards. For
$1.66. Yeah, it's produced price. It's produced market rarity. It's just, and then we'll talk about modern sets here shortly and talk about things they do to try to get the most out of it as far as value wise. But it's definitely the same art. If you like the art, make the art be what you're looking for, not the color border it's stamped on, because you should appreciate the art. And if you do, it's a great way to start a collection very inexpensively, is find that same image in another set that isn't stamped 1 of 5, and it's a great start.
To Don's point, go when I came back and was starting to pick up Moon Knight again, I went and looked at a bunch of cards. I wasn't looking at prices or anything. I was just looking at a bunch of cards, didn't look at the age or anything, and just started making a list of the ones that I liked. Then we did a little bit of research, and oddly enough, most of the ones that I end up liking, I think Don and Will can attest to this. Some of my favorite cards are commons.
Yep.
Base cards.
Absolutely.
They're not over the top refractors, foils, blah, 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 because I think for most of us here, we gravitate towards the art and not so much the rarity. Rarity is great. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy having them, but that's not the first thing.
Yeah, Strange Collectible said, I wish we had a Marvel community in Australia. Dollar cards cost 10 to 15 postage. So hard for some collectors. I totally feel for you. I used to buy a lot of stuff from Canada, but I can't anymore. I actually got hit because I bought something from Canada off of eBay, and it didn't, they weren't doing their included
Oh, their fee.
import tax with
Yeah.
it and for the shipping. So I got a separate bill in the mail from the
Yep.
shipping company for the import tax. So anything for us here in the United States, you buy something from Canada, it's easily 20 bucks, 25
Mhm.
bucks for shipping. And I live in Montana. I could throw a stone and hit the Canadian border from here. So it's I definitely feel you with that one. And just one more on the art to finish out kind of the vintage sets. 2007. This one's a little higher on the value scale, but this card comes in several different versions. And this is the version with the gold foil border. As a new collector wanting to have a couple snazzy pieces in your collection without spending a ton of money, 20 bucks last Friday for this card. And in person, this card is gorgeous. And if you know Bob Larkin or any of Bob Larkin's art, he's a fantastic artist. I actually years ago, I talked over Messenger with the person that owns this original piece of artwork. He'll never get rid of it because he was given to it by Bob, his friend, but he pulled it out and sent me a couple of pictures of it, and it is just gorgeous. But the base card of this card is still a beautiful card without the gold foiling, which you can still pick up for a couple bucks. But for 20 bucks, looking for a couple gems to start off with without spending a ton of a large fortune, this is one of my go-to cards. And this card is one of my all-time favorite Doctor Strange trading cards, period.
And that's also another valid point. That gold border, literally, the only difference between that and the base version of that are those two gold borders. So even if, and again, affordability is such a weird thing because 20 bucks could be a lot for some people. I mean, that's the reality of it. So if you aspire to wanting to have that gold border one, pick up the base one for now to satisfy that itch, so to speak, because you can probably get it for $1 or $2, if that, and then keep an eye out for the other variations if you really like them.
Yep.
One of us.
I got a few I could show.
You betcha.
So this is from '92 Comic Images, Ghost Rider, the second set. So this is arguably my favorite set of all time. Because it has, Javier Salter's artwork. It has Mark Teixeira artwork, which is my favorite artist to pretty much ever exist. But what's cool is so you got this card, which is like base card. And the way they did this set is it goes by the issues. So when they started to do the set, what was cool is issue 18, or they broke it up to so many issues into 20 cards and stuff like that. So that was kind of cool how they did for this is the Danny Ketch run, the original. This is my favorite Ghost Rider run. This is introduction of Danny Ketch, all that. But what's cool, so you got this card. So, just a base card, but they did a promo card as well.
Nice.
And so this is the only promo. So Ghost Rider only has 3 or 4 promo cards to exist. He does not have many. And this is one of the only promo cards he has. And this is the only promo card for the set. And what's cool, it's the same image. It's literally saying, if you love a certain image, you can collect that image over and over again. That's the way you can do that. And then,
what's nice about that card though too is the flames are a different color. Yes. So there is a little bit of a difference, but it's the same art. They just put an embellishment on it. They put a filter on it when they because back then they didn't use computers to do this stuff. Basically you put the art down on to a photo deck, which is a camera above a parallel platform, and you take pictures of it, and that's how you generate. That's how magazines were made and all that other stuff before the computers came along. So you could do some of that stuff, which is really cool without.
So here's another one. So this is image of Johnny Blaze. Well, in '94. Marvel Flair, which it's buried, but they did the '94 set the same exact way, that card the same way, and they different colors and stuff like that. If you want to do an image, being like this right here, this is from Marvel Platinum. They used this image. This was the Howard Mackie auto. Well, he was the writer, but at the same time, they should have had Mark Teixeira since he was the artist. Just saying.
Right. It's like, okay, who do you have sign your comic books? The cover artist, the penciler, the original artist, the writer, or do you have them all sign it? And where do you sign it? Do you sign it on the cover? Do you sign it inside on the title page so you don't mess your cover up? Lots of collecting things that can be individual to you that you prefer, above other people. Yeah. So
I mean, like, it's cool when you go into vintage like this, is because they use the same image, but at the same time they changed it to it. So like that that 94, that Johnny Blaze I showed, they also have a buyback where, I mean, it's it's cool, but at the same time, like, you can literally get that image. You're gonna pay $400 or $500 for the buyback.
Right.
You can get that image for $1.
Yeah, and you can get the original card for $2.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's and make no mistake, some things that are pet peeves of mine, like buybacks and stuff, I still have them. It's because I'm a completionist. I still got to try to get them, but it drove me nuts because it's literally the exact same card that they found, in an unbroken box at a card shop, or their old stock that was just never sold or issued, and they broke them open and they stamped the year of the current set on it, or put some sort of signifier on it to make it the buyback. And now that $2 card, it's the exact same card, but because they found some and they put it in a set, is now a $400 card, which is just crazy. But some people like to do that. I've got no, I do it myself. I bag on it, but I do it myself. But some people like doing that. But you don't have to. That buyback card, that's the card that came out in the original set. Go on eBay and spend $2 and get the original card. It's not listed as a buyback, but now you got the card and at least something to start with. It's the same thing that when they first started doing comic cuts and cards, I lost my mind as a comic book collector. And why would I spend all that money on a cut up panel, a single panel that they slapped between two pieces of cardboard, when I could have the original comic for a tenth of that, a quarter of that, a third of that, and have the entire comic? But that's a niche. And yes, I do have comic cut cards and things like that, but you don't have to pay. It's think in your mind. It's like, well, that's a cool panel. Well, hell, why don't you buy the comic book for much cheaper and actually enjoy the comic and read the story and see all the rest of the panels that are in there by some of those artists. So
And then if you don't want to concentrate on if you want something that's a little bit different from the older cards, go after stuff that people aren't looking for, like stickers. Because these to me are the things that end up being the rare thing, because 9 times out of 10 whoever pulled these from packs were kids, and they ended up on notebooks or bicycles or whatever. And again, it's how you want to collect and what you want to put it. I'm kind of like Don. I'm a quasi completionist. I like to try and get everything I can within reason. But these are those nice little loopholes. If you're looking at older stuff, there's no inserts, but they did do things like stickers and things like that, or puzzle pieces that a lot of people would have discarded and a lot of people are not paying attention to. I think I got both those stickers from the same seller for $8 plus shipping. So
all my Star Wars stickers ended up stuck to my desk lamp as a kid.
There you go.
The first set of Star Wars stickers, I ended up picking up more of them later on, but my Mead notebook or my Trapper Keeper, they were loaded with Star Wars, the Star Wars stickers. Yeah, absolutely. Anything else? Hit on the promo, since you talked about promo. One thing to kind of keep in mind, especially as a new collector, is people can mislabel stuff on eBay, or they're outright trying to deceive you and tell you that this is a promo card to get more money out of you. And I have sent, and I'll actually, I step up and I'll usually, if I run across a Doctor Strange, something that's mislabeled, because sometimes people are putting a lot of cards into eBay at one time. Sometimes descriptions get swapped. Things happen. I'll always send them a message. Sometimes I hear back from someone. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'll get back, you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, and I just leave it at that. I don't care.
Well,
I'm just trying to have other people not get screwed by trying to pay a premium for a card that's not actually a promo card. It's kind of like, at one point people were trying to sell manufacturer defects cards that got damaged during the manufacturing process as special cards, as one of ones, because
Error
it's got
cards.
a full roller mark down the middle or
It was
something
an
like
error
that.
card.
No, and yeah, they call it an error card. It's not an
Yeah.
error card. It's just the machine and the machine handler screwed up, but people will try to up the prices of their stuff that way. So just kind of, be wary of it. And the nice thing too is if you're a member of a few of the different like Facebook groups or collector groups, you can always raise that question or bring it up in the
Ask.
group and say,
Yeah.
hey, I saw this on eBay. Is this truly I did a video last week or the week before on the Stussy stuff that was really fun to do, and a lot of people enjoyed it. I think it's got over 500 views on it. But it's people were trying to sell. Well, I kind of introduced a lot of people into those cards because a lot of the Marvel card collectors didn't know about them several years ago. So the prices kind of jumped once a lot of the Marvel collectors found out about them, because it was something that wasn't in the mainstream.
Right.
But people were trying to sell some of the cards as promo cards, and there weren't. Every one of those cards came in a single pack. It was a promo for the T-shirts, for the apparel. So there was no reason. It was, but they'll try to sell the one that's got the picture of the puzzle as a promo card. It's not. That card came in the actual set. So if you got people you can ask questions to, if something like that comes up, is a great resource too. If you've got some people that obviously you have to trust their opinion and their experience. So yeah.
I mean like this is cool. This is a promo for the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the live action. But this is one, there's only 3 Ghost Rider cards that are in the set. But this is the only promo that they did, and it had Ghost Rider, face on it. So I had to get it. But yeah, I mean, that's the whole reason I want to collect, So when I started to collect Ghost Rider, I had an issue for a while trying to figure out, okay, is this a promo? Where did this come from? Where'd that come from? All that stuff. So, I mean, I had to do a lot of my research. So one of the main reasons why I keep collecting Ghost Rider, and I'm still doing to this day, is the fact that I want to help people. That if people, hey, they want to collect Ghost Rider, hey, what's this set from? Or do you know anything about this? I could be like, yeah, I know, I know what this set's from. I could help you out as much as I possibly can. And that's the whole reason, a lot of us do what we do, is it's to educate, but it's also to help people, or even, to make friends. I mean, that's the whole point of the reason why we collect what we collect, and we're so active in collecting what we collect, is because of that.
Yeah, and the sky's the limit. It's you can get trading cards out of DVD box sets.
Yes.
For different movies, for animated movies. There's you can get trading cards. When I say trading card, it's a card that's usually 2x3 that people buy and trade. That's why I consider the sticker cards trading cards. I consider, I got all sorts of arcade cards and all sorts of stuff that I consider trading cards, because if it's something that people are interested in buying and trading and it's a card format, then to me it's a trading card. So I've got quite a wide interpretation of what I consider a card. But yeah, I love promo cards. I just picked up, finally, I waited for the prices to come down. I finally picked up the Doctor Strange Counter Spell Magic the Gathering card from San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Those are those little unique things that not everybody has, and it starts to separate your collection from everybody else's. I mean, the reality is, if there's 2 Moon Knight collectors and we're both picking up the exact same things, there's really nothing. I mean, yeah, to you it's special, but it's like there's those little offshoots are what makes your collection unique, right?
Yeah, like this. I mean, this is a sticker from the video game,
right?
And it was a promo. It came in like the games before, to promote the Ghost Rider video game. Like, I mean, it's a bigger sticker, but it's still, to me, it makes the collection. Like you said, it
stands out a little bit, right?
Yeah, it's unique because a lot of people either don't know, or a lot of people just collect different ways. Like,
well, and to your point, well, I think that's what it is. I think especially newer people come into the hobby only know, that there's Upper Deck, or there's Flare, or there's Tops, and that's all they've seen. And then they see something off the beaten path that is relatively easy to get. And I think that's part of that whole thing, getting excited about something that you wouldn't normally see, but you're not seeing it because people aren't gravitating to it because it doesn't have any value. Well, that's nonsense.
Yeah.
This statue is a great statue. You plug a USB cable in the bottom and the stone lights up. It came with a trading card.
Yeah,
It
there
came
you
with a
go.
Doctor Strange trading card. So a
That's cool.
statue came with a trading card. So it was a freebie, man. I consider it a freebie trading card. I paid for the statue. I got the card for free. That's how I justify it. I have to hop up on my chair because I don't have a chair high enough for my streaming table. So I'm actually sitting on a couple blankets because I need to get a bar stool, a bar chair to actually sit right. So if I happen to just topple over, don't worry about it. I'll hopefully get back up.
Go
So
steal a booster seat from one of the restaurants nearby.
right, that's right. So we talked a little bit about resources. Let's talk just a little bit more about that. So the internet is a great thing and a horrible thing.
Amen.
Back when I first started collecting comic books or anything, it was all looking at ads in the back of fanzines. It was all message boards, real message boards in the back of publications where you had to write somebody, hey, do you have this? I saw you're advertising this. Do you have any of these type of thing? So when the internet came around, obviously any idiot can post whatever they want on the internet. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. But what it did is it brought a lot of things to light. It was easier for people to, one, learn about things and to get access to things that were considered 101s or super rares back in the 70s and 80s. Once the internet hit and eBay hit, you found out there's thousands of those out there, but you never knew. You know, so you were, when you were at a toy show or something like that, you know, you had, you know, prices. So the internet had a negative effect in a way on collecting or collectors trying to sell things, because they found out a lot of the stuff or some of the stuff they had wasn't as rare as what they thought it was. And then also the other thing you have to keep, which we've talked about, was misinformation. But a couple things, we talked about eBay quite a bit. I'm pretty sure everybody's familiar with eBay. A couple quick things on eBay. One, like we talked about, make offers, look at the descriptions, look at the shipping price, look at their rating, and look where it's shipping from, so you don't get extra taxes or have problems. Once the Chinese sets started coming out a few years back, I was very hesitant about buying those cards. And then I made my first purchase. And oddly enough, I have faster shipping from China.
I was going to say
the same thing.
But SpeedPack from China was way faster than shipping something to New York here from Montana in the United States.
Weird. Yeah, it's so
crazy.
Yeah.
But you keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on the description and ask questions. And if somebody doesn't send you a response, move along, unless it's something super rare or super whatever.
I was going to say, don't ever hesitate to just walk away.
Yep.
That's probably your biggest benefit, is just to walk away from certain things.
Yep. And my pet peeve is people who post blurry images. I don't care what it is. Generally, if the only picture they got is a blurry pic, I'm like, are they doing that on purpose? So I just move right on by and I look for something else.
Blurry pics or not having the backside of the card. That's one of my
right. And other people are great. Other people, like comic book collectors, they'll post a picture of every single corner of the card, the front and the back of the card. And they'll be very upfront. The scratches you see are on the top loader, and you can see that it's in a top loader. And we all know the top loader scratch very easily. That plastic scratches very easily. You can send them a message and say, hey, can I get a picture of it out of the top loader, especially if it's a more expensive card. That way, you know, you're a little bit more at ease with that.
But to your point, if you don't hear something back, walk away.
Move on. So eBay's a great resource, but you got to, like everything else, trust but verify. You got to ask questions. You got to, the $2 card, 65-cent shipping from eBay shipping.
You gamble.
If I get screwed, I get screwed. But I do the same due diligence on a $2 card that I do on a $200 card, because it gets you into that process of not getting screwed, you know, if you know what I mean. If you approach every item, comic book, card, pop, whatever it happens to be, the same way each and every time, you're going to have a better outcome, you know, no matter what the price of the item is. So any thoughts on eBay?
I was gonna say, I don't know if we're getting into other resources, but
you know.
So
you brought up Mercari earlier. I'm on Mercari. Not every day, but every couple of days I'm usually on Mercari. William, you brought up search different languages. Find out go to Google Translate and find out what your character is, Dr. Strango. Find out what it is in Italian.
Right.
because
Panini,
there's a lot
yep.
of great Italian stuff. There's a lot of stuff from some of those countries over in that area of the
Like
world.
Brazil, South
Portugal,
America.
Yep.
you know, even German. You know, I'll throw German out there too. And not only that is there are different eBay sites for some of the different countries. So if you actually go to the UK eBay and do a search, you're going to find stuff that didn't show up in your US search. Just make a list. Just do a note file on your computer and just get the most popular kind of languages. And especially if you've seen a card series or a card in another language, add that, whatever the translation of your character is, to your list. That way you're continuously searching for those cards, because some people love collecting foreign stuff. Some people kind of stay away from it, but there's some great foreign original stuff out there that's really good. Yeah.
Yeah. The tarot cards
Yeah.
come to mind. Those come to mind. The 1980 tarot cards come to mind. Those are a lot of those are the 90, was it 92? Something like that. But it's the ones from Italy that those come to mind, because those are original art. So those come to mind big time.
Hey buddy, how you doing? This is another Doctor Strange collector.
Oh, nice.
He's been gracious enough to send me a few things, and what's nice is this gentleman is from Argentina, and there are
That's helpful.
a lot of good Argentina stuff out there that's confusing to us here in the United States, because we don't know what the hell's going on, especially some of the older stuff where you had the circle pod kind of things and other things like that. It's good to have a friend in Argentina. I've had great conversations with him, and I'm glad you could be here tonight. Awesome. Let's see, other resources, eBay, ComC and ePack. So I hate ePack. I've been an ePack hater since the day it started. And you see more and more people kind of hate it. And I just saw a post today where someone's like, it's going to cost me $250 to have my shipped on ComC. And it's going to take me 3 months to get the stuff and blah, blah. I was not a fan. I understand why they did it. They made a ton of money doing it, and they'll never stop doing it. But the Doctor Strange 2016 set wasn't the first, but it was one of the first ePack sets. And that's why my Doctor Strange collection is so big. I've got 3 binders alone from that set, because there were 7, 8, 9 different color parallels for every one of the base cards. You really got a whole wide range to go down. But for those cards that have all those different parallels, pick a chaser or parallel that you like the art, and then look for the foil, the border, the prism or the shiny that they're doing to it that fits the best to the art. You know, the one-on-ones used to be black foiling and blacks, which really didn't lend a whole lot to the art. You know, most people, you know, being legitimate, most people don't get one-of-ones ever, as far as collectors as a whole. But look for, you know, the 1 in 100, the 1 in 200, the 1 in 300 might have a better colored foiling or border that makes that artwork pop much better. And you can spend a lot less, unless the 1 of 3 or 1 of 5 happens to be the one, right? Best, which they usually don't do. Some of the ugliest foilings I've seen have been on the lower number cards.
So for your point, Fleer Ultra Midnight Suns, it's one of my favorite sets. It's a set I've collected. I'm still collecting it, all that.
Love it.
So I did the whole entire silver, because there's so many Ghost Riders. I did the silver rainbow parallel. So it's like a combinable of like 10, 10 digital make 1 base. That's what it is.
Right.
So so I was thinking about doing a gold rainbow set, but that's 100 to make 1, blah blah blah. Well, the thing is, those cards are so expensive. But I've talked to people that have them in hand, the gold rainbow, and a lot of them say don't do the gold rainbow. Because the way that the art is and how dark a lot of those art is, it doesn't pop. But with the silver rainbows, I have the silver rainbows in hand. You've got them more and they pop. And they pop so well compared to the gold rainbows.
The silver foil, and I like the green foil on a lot of those cards, because those cards are dark, and those colors make
the red
pop,
gets lost, because I've got a couple of reds, and it kind of gets lost in the darkness of that set. And Yeah.
The oranges,
Yeah,
I like
pick-
the oranges when it comes to Ghost Rider
Mhm.
because the flames and stuff. So
Right.
that's sometimes
Yep.
I'll do is that if it's not like a high parallel or whatever, and if I have the base card and if I do like it, I'll like get one of the parallels to color match it. So like for
Yep.
Ghost Rider, I'll get a red or an orange or whatever, but I'm not like gonna go out of my way for it. But
Right.
that's one thing that Don was saying is when it comes to get them in hand and decide from there, or ask friends or ask resource. One of your resources could be your collector friends. Ask them, hey, can you send me pictures? How does it look in your opinion? Have them send you a video, have them do whatever, so that could help you as a resource as well.
I was
Or
gonna say a
okay,
video is always good because you can tilt the
yes,
card, get an idea of
yes,
reflection and all that sort of fun stuff.
if this is something
Photos,
I
just
really
like
want to
any
chase,
art,
yeah,
it can misrepresent it.
Right.
Yep.
Even when you're on like regular traditional auction websites for other stuff, regular art and other things. I always want to actually go to the auction house and look at it in person because a lot of
Yeah.
that stuff looks completely different in person. But sometimes you don't have that option. But yeah, the silver, the base silver, I thought was awesome. They
Yeah.
did a great job just doing the base set.
Yeah.
And then the one chase set that was done in the green that were the adjoining ones.
Yeah.
The
were the
ultra,
basic
yeah,
card.
yeah.
Those
Ultra
looked
shade, yeah.
great. They picked a foiling that the base run looked great, and I got some other stuff, but I was
And-
very satisfied with having a base set just in the silver. Looked
Yeah.
fantastic.
to kind of circle back to what we were talking about, how much of it is out there. Breakers, for if you're looking for those bargains, are actually doing you a favor because they're going through so much product that those base cards and stuff now become overly abundant. If you go to ComC, you'll find a card that they have 50 in stock, and each seller just keeps dropping it a nickel. So you're getting it for next to nothing. So there's
I always
research
kinda-
involved, but there is a way to do this, on the cheap.
I always kind of cringe, and I don't bash any other collectors for collecting their passion. Some people will buy boxes and save them just to try to flip them a couple years for a higher price. But
Yeah.
other people do collect sealed boxes.
Sure.
And when somebody posts a picture of a whole wall of sealed boxes of all sorts of product, I'm just thinking to myself, how many 101s are tied up in those boxes
Yeah.
that will never see the light of day?
See, I thought I have a couple sealed. Like I have a sealed Midnight Suns because it has Ghost Rider on it. Like
Yeah.
I have some that has the character on it. Like one of the ones I want, which I know it's going to be expensive, is Marvel Beginnings, the 20 I think it's 2012 or 2013. But Ghost Rider, there's an image of him on there, and it's the same. They use this image. It's the same exact image. And it's like, well, I want it, but at the same time, it's like $800-900 box.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
I don't think I could justify that yet.
Money better spent somewhere else, right?
Exactly.
See, what I do is I get the boxes and I actually break them down like cereal box collectors, so they fit in the drawers. So if Doctor Strange is on a box, I usually try to get the box. If I don't buy a box and break it myself, I'll get the box and then I'll break it down for storage. So I've got it there. And then I keep usually 5 or 6 of the packs, be it the wax packs, the foil packs. And if it's vintage, they used to have advertisements on the edge of the wax packs. I got every version of the advertising, in the collection. But because I don't have the space. I've got a lot of space, but I have to break those boxes down. And the other thing, I was lucky enough to the one set, Ray Lago did the Doctor Strange card was also the main image on the box. So I got
the 20
his prelim
yeah.
for that image. He
Fleur
was
Ultra-
kind enough to contact me.
Yeah, Fleur Ultra Avengers. That's what it is. 2022.
that's what it is. Yep.
I think it's Fleur Ultra.
22.
I think
It's Ultra Avengers though.
yeah, Fleur Ultra.
So I was
Avengers,
lucky enough to get the prelim for it because I don't have in my budget. I rarely get original trading card art because I have to spread my budget over every single thing that's got Doctor Strange on it, from boxer shorts to hero clicks to pops to whatever. So I try to focus. I do have a little bit, but I try to focus. Prelims are something that's usually cheap enough that I can pick up and still have a part of that history. And also, if I do put bigger money into it, I'd rather have a piece of comic book art.
Yes.
To be honest.
Yes.
That's just me. That's just my personal collector. So, Facebook groups. So we're all in different Facebook groups. There's a lot of them out there. Some of them, it took me a while to find a couple that I'm a 56-year-old man. I don't tolerate bullshit. I don't like used car salesmen like some of these whatnot sellers that are just yelling and banging and taking 5 minutes to reveal the damn hit. That I have no patience for any of that stuff. So I bounced through a few different groups till I found a couple that I could tolerate. And throughout the year, I turn all the notifications and I turn them off for a month, because that gives me a break from all that stuff. But when you do find a couple groups that you can kind of trust some of the people in the group, start making some friends or some contacts, those are good resources to ask those questions where you can get an honest answer. And not only that, some of those groups you might be able to pick cards up for cheaper because they know you're a collector. Everybody knows that I don't sell anything. Anything that comes to my collection will be here till I die. I give away more than I've ever sold. All my Doctor Strange dupes I tend to give away. I give away stuff in the candy bowl at Halloween. At conventions, I do scavenger hunts where I have my card with my Doctor Strange logo on it, and I hide them in the conventions. And if they open it, they say, "Hey, come here and you'll win a free prize." And I'll have a big grab bin of a bunch of my duplicates and give stuff away. But on the flip side of that, the reason why a lot of people can afford the more expensive cards is they build a trade bank. I'll call it.
Yes.
And that works very well. It's just for me, because I don't do Pokemon, I don't do Magic the Gathering, I don't do a lot of those other type of cards where that's really popular in. I would rather contribute to the community and give a lot of that stuff away. And I've given away some pretty expensive stuff over the years, but I'd rather empower the community in that. But I also know that I'm not going to give somebody some seed stuff if I know they're just going to turn around and throw it on eBay the next day, so that's building those relationships. That's building, those connections that you can kind of trust and hopefully count on.
With Facebook groups, I found that I think, to your point, Don, it's like find a few, join a few of them, and kind of look at the discussions and see what's going on and kind of get a feel for, is all they're talking about buying and selling. Those are not the groups that I want to be in. I want to talk about, cards. I want to get people's opinions. I want to see what's in your collection. It doesn't have to be a 101. It could be a base card. Get a feel for the group. And then once you do get a feel for the group and narrow it down to that one or two, contribute. Yep. Even if you don't have a ton of cards, contribute, ask questions. You by getting involved in the conversations, even if you're not getting a huge response or something, those people who are the ones who like to help out in the community will start to gravitate and will reach out to you and say, "Hey, do you happen to have these?" I've done it with a few people with Moon Knight. I just started collecting Moon Knight, blah, 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 blah. I'll reach out to them and say, "Hey, do you have these cards?" and send them a few base cards and stuff. Those I have found more so over the last year that as those community friendships have built, not that I want something for nothing, but there's always somebody who's looking out for you. "Hey, I came across this card. It's really, really inexpensive. Are you interested?" Blah, 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 blah. Because for me, just to Don's point, if I happen to get something from somebody, or on the off chance I decide to break open a pack and there's stuff that I know somebody else collects, I don't want anything for it. I just spent my $6-7 for the pack just to give it a try. If I know I've got Doctor Strange stuff, I know I've got a couple of Doctor Strange people. Here's the card. And again, be part of the community. If you have that chance to pay it forward, pay it forward. It just helps everybody along the way. That is also part of that, how to collect on a budget, because you can kind of offset a little bit because you have friends. People are looking out for you. Again, it's not just trying to get something for nothing, but that network starts to grow. And it does bring stuff back to you.
Yeah, one last thing I'll mention on the the Facebook groups, and that is in any type of messenger group you've got, is don't be a sponge. Don't only post when you're asking for stuff. Contribute to that community, because people will be more willing to think you're invested, in it. And I don't want to say there's no stupid question, but posting something like, "Hey, is the new Spider-Man trailer out?" when it would literally take you 10 seconds because your phone's already in your hand and you just don't want to type it into Google. That stuff annoys people like that just annoy the hell out of me. It's like if you live in some far part of the country and you're not getting something, that a question like that would be, appropriate, but don't make other people do the work for you when it's
Exactly.
something super easy for you to do, is what I'm saying.
Exactly.
You know?
Like a card or something like that. And if it's an image, hey, you know where this image is from, be like, okay, this is from this image. But also like be able for you to do the research. Don't make it to the point of somebody else has to do. You know what I mean? Like,
it's do your due diligence, and when you hit the wall, go to the community.
yes, exactly. Exactly. Do your research. Hey, I can't find it. I'm having
Right.
a hard time. Can you
Yep.
guys help me out? Okay, cool. Yeah, it's this artist or it's from this issue or whatever. That's the whole point of this is we're a community. We're a community that needs to, I don't think needs to, but wants to help people, wants to help collectors, especially new collectors.
Right.
It's hard too getting into this because we're so small that we are also like very hesitant of who comes, you know what I mean? Like you're hesitant of who comes in.
It's
You
hard to
just
trust
don't.
sometimes
Yes,
because
exactly. You just don't
people
want,
are going to try to take advantage of you and make money off of you, and
Yeah.
that's just the nature of the thing. Because
It-
once they find out, for character collectors
Exactly.
specifically, when you find, because a lot of people, even if they know that they're character or say that they're character collectors, they won't post a lot of stuff on the
Yeah.
groups because they don't want other people knowing that they're a high roller or that they're a serious. Because the next thing you know, their inbox is getting spammed with, "I got this for sale. I got this for
Yep.
sale. I got
Yeah.
this
Yep.
for sale." I had a message on one of the, well, it was a post on one of the groups. "Hey, does anybody in Montana collect Marvel trading cards?" And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." I replied, "Yeah, I'm in Missoula. I do." And then he just flooded me with, "Hey, I'm trying to get rid of all this stuff." So, they're trying to make money off of you. But that's, you kind of understand that. And you'd be like, "No, I'm not
Yeah.
interested." And then
Yeah,
move on, and
that's-
you have to block
yeah.
them. But character collectors especially, and some well-known collectors will try to get taken advantage of, or people will try to take advantage of them because they're like, "Hey, as a character collector, he'll probably pay a little bit more than somebody else for some of this stuff." But what they don't understand is we're probably also the more educated of those particular
Yeah.
cards and know that you're just full of crap, So,
And
but yeah.
to your point and to Will's point, I think that's also part of that whole community aspect. I think as you become more part of the community and people understand that you're just not in it for yourself,
To
or if
flip
you're
it,
just not
yeah.
selling, or if you're just not flipping, that trust builds a little bit. And when you do come out and say, "Hey, you know what? I came across this and they're asking this, which seems out of range," you'll get legitimate answers back. So
Yep.
it's part of that process. And to Will's point, the community aspect, I think, is overlooked by a long shot by a lot of people. I know a lot of people have specific wants out of what they do with cards, and that's fantastic. Do what you want, but the community aspect of this is what'll keep this hobby moving forward.
Yes.
Yeah, and don't be that person whose your only posts are valuation posts.
Right.
Yeah.
How much is this worth? You can do your history search of all your posts in this Facebook group, and every one of them is nothing but a valuation post. It's like, you're selling it, dude. You do your own. It's a question or two is fine, but if every single post you make in that group is a valuation post, yeah. Anyway,
Without offending any sellers or whatever, anybody who starts off will make me an offer. Nope. It's your card. You tell me what you want for it. And if it's
Exactly.
okay with me, that's fantastic. So,
and if it's not, I'll even tell
if
you
it's
why.
not,
It's like,
fine,
well,
yeah.
I'm thinking more of this range. I understand that, obviously, because for most cards, even from a set that's just a junk set that doesn't have any really high dollar cards in it and stuff like that, I don't have a problem paying up to $5 for any card. Because the person broke a pack, broke a box, even if it's a 99-cent card. Me personally, depending on if it's not available anywhere else or whatever, I think $5 is a fair price for any trading card that's in good condition. It isn't torn in half or whatever. But yeah. So collecting websites. So a couple ways that can also help out a new collector or somebody looking for, all right, there's this set. I know what the art is for my card in the set, but I don't know what all the different parallel colors are for that set. There are websites a lot of times you can go to, usually if it's like within the first week of product being out, or especially after product hitting ePack. ePack is a great resource where you can go out and search ePack and COMC, and all those cards will pop up. Some of you probably know about the new site coming up, Collectus. That's kind of the main function of it, is where you can pull up and see every card in the set and see the different parallels and things like that. So there are a lot of websites out there that you can go to without having to do your own research and to find out your own. Hey, I saw the art for this card in, let's say, the Brooklyn set or whatever, but I want to see what the different parallels look like. So I'm probably only going to be able to pick up a couple cards out of this set. So let me see what those cards look like before I actually start searching for them and doing my eBay searches and stuff.
Do a Google search for checklists for a given set.
Yep.
Because a lot of times manufacturers or even resellers of the sets will post the manufacturer's checklist. And that's usually what I do with the new sets. Excuse me, is just see, okay, this set came out, what Moon Knight cards are in it? Then decide, okay, is it worth chasing or is it not worth chasing? Because if it's only a 1 of 10 that's available, that's completely back burner for me, because I know it's not something I'm willing to spend money on at the moment.
Yep. Keep in mind, though, some of the checklists aren't correct. Even from the publisher, they're not correct.
Well, again, that's part of that whole don't take your first thing as face value. Do a little research.
And then on the foreign sets, the Chinese, the China sets, they started doing Star Wars sets, and now too, they're actually doing them in English. But a lot of those sets, when they first started, they weren't in English, and you didn't know what your character name was or if that was your character. Right. Google Lens. I will throw that out to anybody. You scan an image with Google Lens, and it will, or excuse me, you do Google Translate, scan a card for Google Translate. Sometimes you could only find a Chinese checklist and you couldn't read it. Scan it with Google Translate, and it's great. You'll go right down, and I'll find my Doctor Strange. And then if there's stuff on a card that I've got or something that I'm not sure about, hit it with Google Lens and see what Google pulls up for that. It's a fantastic resource. I've had cards where I have no idea what set this came from because I got them years ago and they ended up in a miscellaneous pile. I hit it with Google Lens, and it tells you exactly what year, what the set was, who the artist was. It just pulls up a lot of stuff. And before kind of AI became the go-to term this year and last year, it was a great resource to do that. So Google Lens, Google Translate, for especially on those foreign cards. Yeah.
I think using don't pigeonhole yourself into I'm only using this resource. Use multiples.
Yep.
Card database is another good one for older cards, just to get an idea of what's there, what's not there. Even what was it? Jeff Allender's House of Checklists. It's got all the checklists for all these sets to give you an idea of what's out there, what's not out there. But yeah, I mean, kind of going back to what we talked about before, build a little bit of a process as to how you're going to get to what you're looking for.
All right, I'm going to show a couple more cards, and then we'll start talking about how to collect modern sets without mortgaging your house. So
is that possible?
So going a little bit higher on the dollar scale. Where am I at here? Come here, you. So 2020 Marvel Ages, they had a really cool insert called the
Fresnel.
Fresnel. The S is Fresnel. One of the letters of science. Fresnel, right?
Fresnel.
Because it's the dude's name that developed the lenses for that they used in the lighthouses.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a thicker card, and the center's transparent, but it's in a Fresnel lens. A really cool insert or chase. A lot of them had some really good art. So once we start getting into the $20 range, this one was $23 on eBay last Friday. So to add, even for someone who doesn't have a big budget or has a very minimalistic budget, a couple times a year, a nice card like this for $20 or $30 can really, add to your collection and your enjoyment. 2015 Fleer.
Yo,
Simon
metal.
One of my favorite cards of all time. This art has been used in a few sets now. The art actually comes from a Doctor Strange comic book cover, is where the art originally came from. But it's what's called a metal card. And this is kind of the step below, kind of talking about, we're not going to get into PMGs and stuff like that, that nonsense, but great art. a metal card with some shine and some sheen to it. $24.99 last Friday, and everybody recognizes Simon's work. It's great to have something from him in your collection. 2014 Marvel's 75th anniversary, going back to the sticker cards. This was kind of one of the first modern sticker cards in the modern sets.
Yep.
So $13.99 on eBay last Friday, and it's a sticker card. And then one last one, 2020, again, Marvel Ages. I really liked a lot of the Doctor Strange cards in the Marvel Ages set. This one, probably not going to get on the camera. It's the Flavorful card.
Those are cool. Those are very cool. Yeah.
It's got a very shimmery background. Kevin Nolan is the artist for the Doctor Strange there, I believe. $5.31 for a nice chase. Great art. A little bit different formatting on the cards. Not just looks like any other cards. They put info box on the front instead of the back. Or
it looks like a TCG.
Yeah.
What's that?
It kind of looks like a TCG card. Yeah.
Yep. So even when you're kind of, it's like, all right, I'm going to start off and I'm going to buy 1, 2, 3, 20, 30, 50, $2 to $5 cards to get my collection going. And maybe that's what your collection is going to be, is just those cards. But a couple times a year, you can kind of step up to the next price point. And when I say that, I'm talking, the $20 kind of price point. And there are a lot of fantastic inserts and chases that you can pick up in that price range.
I think I see this regularly on eBay, the 2017 Flair Ultra for under $10.
Yep.
I'm a sucker for shiny. I love holograms and shinies.
Yep.
Lenticulars. those are my downfall. And anybody got anything else before we move into modern cards? So modern cards are kind of a beast, but I'll just kind of show these since I got the cards out. I'll kind of show you these. These are my last two pickups this week. This is the Panini set that came out.
Glow in the dark.
Which was an interesting set. I liked how they boxed it.
Yeah,
I liked how they did it.
Yeah.
There's a couple other cards in there that I'm going to pick up, but this is around a $10 card currently, but it's a newer set. But what's nice is it's glow in the dark. And Panini, my other glow in the dark Doctor Strange card, was an older Panini set also. So Panini, like the rest of the card companies, they do sports cards. They're well known. There's a lot of foreign Panini stuff that is completely different. It's kind of the same stuff, but it's on like paper thin material, and it's just kind of produced a little bit differently. But for $10 for a modern set, this is fantastic artwork. And then all his spell circles, you can kind of see where the green is and the yellow. That all glows in the dark.
The glow effect is really, really good. It's not half-assed.
Yep. And then the other one that I got in this week,
the Cosmos.
Yeah. Another inexpensive card, and just an oddball one. It's a thicker point card, but it's just cut differently, and that's what I liked when Finding Unicorn and Kakawa. I can never pronounce it right. when they came out, they just did a great job with their formatting of the cards. Some of it, even with reused art, on some of it. That to me, I think they put together a better product than Upper Deck and Topps has done. So that's why I really kind of got into them. And at the time, a lot of people didn't know about these cards, so they were super inexpensive. They're not quite as inexpensive today, but they're still very affordable cards for the most part. So some tips for collecting modern cards. The problem, if you're a card collector, if you're just getting into the hobby, you go out to eBay, you go out to a retailer or a card shop, or you go out to Steel City or one of the distributors, and a box of cards can run you $300, $500, $600, $800, $1,000 a box. And that's out of a lot of people's budget or price point. And especially the Brooklyn set that just came out, there's only one pack of cards in that box. It's confusing. It confuses people sometimes, especially new collectors, that you need to look at the breakout that's in that box. You're paying $300, $400, $500 for a box of cards that has a single pack of cards in it. So it's like, So what I do, my collecting approach to modern sets is, one, I watch a lot of box breaks just because I like seeing the new cards and see what they look like on YouTube. But I generally, not all the time, but I generally wait a good 2 months. And if it's a higher price card, 3 months, like we talked about earlier, because the sellers are trying to get them out right away to get as much money as they can from, which you can't, it's a business. You got to do it. That's how you make money. But after all those cards finally hit in the next couple of weeks, when everybody's broke the boxes and the cases, generally speaking, those prices will start coming down to some extent. So, and there'll be more of a little bit of comps. When I look at comps, I don't take anything in the first couple of weeks of a box coming out as comps. That has nothing to do. That's just that to me does not account to what a fair price for that card is what it does over, to me, for a collectible, over what it does over several years. But for cards, at a minimum, I do 2 or 3 months, and that does a couple of things. One, normalizes those comps, usually brings those comps down when we're not talking the super low numbered serial cards and stuff like that. Those cards will hold a higher price for a longer time. But it's it becomes more affordable. We talked about making offers on eBay, even on new breaks. Sometimes some breakers are just trying to make their money and move on. So if you make them an offer, they may bite on it, even though it's the next day or the first week of that box coming out.
I was gonna caveat your eBay, waiting a few months. I think when things come out, what I tend to do is find out, again, like Don said, find out your breakout. Again, with the Captain America set that just came out, the Brooklyn set, it's 1 pack, 10 cards. Find out if your character's in there, for starters, and then see what, if it's a supposed common, because it's hard for me to understand a common in something that's 1 pack, 10 cards. So, find out what it is. And once I know what I'm looking for, I will bookmark them on eBay, even if they're auctions. Get an idea of what they're going for. Give it time, and see what happens. The asterisk I'll add to that, though, is while you're looking, and you don't want that knee-jerk reaction right off the get-go, there's always someone who either spent too much or just broke a pack and got something he didn't care of and wants to get rid of it. And I showed this to the guys earlier. This was not on my watch list.
It's a great card.
It was not at all. But it was not an auction, and it was listed for $19.99, and jump on those opportunities. Yep. It's out of 50. So to Don's point, for the most part, give it time to settle down, but always kind of keep an eye out for those bargains, because they're few and far between, but they're out there.
Yeah. And like I said before, keep in mind, it's not your job to recoup the money that somebody might have paid too much for on something previously. It's not your responsibility. And then again, looking when we're talking about those box breakdowns, this is card 1 of the 26 Doctor Strange movie set. The base set is limited to 150 cards. So the base set alone, there's only 150 of each one of those cards, and then it gets shorter from there. So in a modern set that is limited to only 99 for the base set or 150 for the base set to start with, those sets are going to be a lot more, because there's not an unlimited amount. And Upper Deck and Topps will, unless they change the thing, they will never tell us how many cards they've produced. Kakawa actually puts on the back of their boxes how many cases that they made. This is what in boxes it'll say this is box 500 out of 15,000, 20, how many boxes they made. So you got a much better idea on how really rare that base card is, or unnumbered card is, or 1 of 5, not numbered 1 of 5, but your chances of getting this card is 1 out of 5. You really have no idea how rare that card is unless you know how many cards were actually made or how many boxes were actually made. And then you can do the math backwards and figure out, okay, those 1 in 5 inserts, how many cards were actually produced. And also these companies have duplicates. They hold stuff back, because some of the companies like Upper Deck and that will replace damaged or missing cards. If you're doing a box break and you're videotaping it and something is totally mangled, you can actually take the serial number out of the box, and you have a chance of getting that card replaced. And it's even come up in the past where 101s or cards that there's only supposed to be one of that card, there's been more than one hitting the market because they printed extras of those. So then that's why I never hold 101s really as any type of a high standard, because you honestly don't know how many of those 101s they physically printed. And if they, for whatever reason, so if any of those got out into the wild, even if it was for some legitimate, whatever reason, and if somebody's 101 card got destroyed of that exact same card, they could give them another one, whatever. But that's not a 101 anymore. And if you realize that they do produce or have produced more of those, it kind of, you might adjust your mindset on really what a 101 is. And
to piggyback off of that, don't try really hard not to get sucked into the flavor of the month.
Yep.
Because the reality is, and I understand, and there's an old adage that, a 101 piece of crap on a stick is still a piece of crap on a stick. And I understand that logic, but there's a lot, and this is the things that I tell people a lot of times. When Upper Deck came out with their Moon Knight cards, this is out of 32. This costs nothing. Even right now, it costs nothing. It's still out of 32 no matter what. And I understand, people are paying out the nose for PMGs that are of 100, and I understand it's that whole allure of that PMG thing. I get it. I understand that there's some things that people, put that tag on that are more favorable. I understand. That's fantastic. But don't get sucked into it too much, because it's still, this is still rarer than that PMG, no matter what anybody says.
Absolutely.
So have a little common sense to it. I know we're going to talk about FOMO later, but it's part of that process, and that really is part of one of the biggest parts of not overspending in this hobby.
Yeah, and if you don't, if you don't like the image, and hey, you need don't force yourself to get the card just because so like, for example, so when you guys put those Brooklyn pages, or those Brooklyn cards, right?
Yeah.
I looked up the Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
There is a Ghost Rider in the set, but you know what image that's from? That image is from the Intimidation Nation set.
Mm-hmm.
It's from that insert. So it's like, why do I need that? Why do I need that image again? Because I've also come to the point that I stopped after Upper Deck lost the license. Mm-hmm. I stopped the Ghost Rider. I'm not doing any Topps cards. So it's all stuff, before that, because that was a good way for me to spend a little less.
Yeah.
But also have more for the stuff before Topps. Because that's how, and that's one way you can budget it too, is you'll find a stopping point on when to stop, like a year, you could like figure out a year, and you can go to that, and then you can do a year, you're done with it, and then just get the stuff in that, and
or
in that little
to that point, either you make yourself a window.
Yep.
Or my basic rule is that whatever comes out, I want to get at least the base card. Because for the most part, you can afford a base card.
Yeah.
Even the Brooklyn set, I think the base card of Moon Knight was, maybe $15.
Yeah.
You can be a completionist in that respect. You don't have to have.
No.
I guess when you say completionist, you can determine what completionist means.
Exactly. It's your collection. It's your collection. You don't have to have a whole fucking rainbow of one to fucking
I've
whatever.
got a rainbow, and I don't have the 101, but I've got every other card in that.
Exactly. I'm good with that.
Rainbow.
Exactly.
So it's and people come up with all these other terms like a master rainbow and whatever. It's like, whatever you want to call it. It's all semantics.
You could and you could do it. Yeah, you could do it so many ways. You could even, hell, if you wanted to, you could have like a base card and be like, you know what, I'm going to commission artists to do a card.
Right.
Okay, cool. There you go. Like, you don't have to, there's so many different ways you can do it. You can get a sketch card from an artist, or, whatever from that set. Okay, I like that. I'm going to get that. Or you could even, commission an artist for 25, 30, 40, 50 bucks. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's how you want to make your collection, but you could do it on a budget that's, you could do it in a sane way. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars to do a whole rainbow. Like, you don't. Yeah. It's however you want to make the rainbow, it's your collection.
And to just kind of wrap all that up, understand you're never going to have everything.
No.
Period. Not going to happen. Impossible. So, once you get that out of your system, you'll be a happier camper.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of people, right? I think a lot of people that are more successful collecting, and I'm not talking about making money or flipping stuff, but being a successful collector, they start out as a generalist initially, and they'll just buy a bunch of random cards, and you can do that inexpensively to get them in hand, see how they feel, because the feel of a card too is another thing that unless you went through some different sets and some different types of papers and stuff like that, and then they kind of gravitate into a niche.
Yep.
I like PMGs, and I'd rather try to funnel all my money, buy a couple cards every now and then, and get my PMGs and not worrying about anything else. But some people, will gravitate towards, a specific like masterpieces only, and that's where they end up focusing their collection, which is fantastic. And that's a way to focus your money too, is you're focusing it down. That doesn't mean that your wishes and dreams don't change over the years. If you're a long-term collector, that stuff can change, and you may get rid of some stuff you never thought you'd get rid of before to try to free up some money to do something new or something different to keep you interested. And I tell collectors of any type of collecting, hey, if you get burnt out and you get tired of it, just don't sell your stuff off. Just put it away for a while. Relax, take a break. Don't have that fear a couple of years later. It's like, man, I really wish I wouldn't have done that. I was just going through a different time of my life. Sometimes you need the money and you got to get rid of some stuff because you have life changes and things. But just don't up and quit and go if you're a true collector, because in a couple of years things change and you might want to go back to it. And if you don't, then it's time to maybe go ahead and start liquidating and things like that.
Yeah, and then you'll be like, "Oh man, I cannot believe I got rid of that."
Right.
Then you'll be all, don't do that.
To your
and
point,
cards don't take up any space or hardly any space. Even like I said, you can have hundreds and thousands of cards in a couple shoe boxes that you can put away in a closet and then bring back later, or break out with your kids, when your kids get a little older and share that experience with them. So yeah, absolutely.
To your point, your collection is going to evolve. How you collect is going to evolve. When I first started back into Moon Knight, the bulk of everything I picked up in the beginning were cards that I liked. They were all inexpensive. And then as I filled in those holes, going to your point with, collecting masterpieces or whatever, I picked up the bases. And as I filled in holes, and I decided, okay, you know what? I'm going to try and get the 1 out of 150 for these masterpiece sets. And it just keeps evolving. And I said, okay, that's where I'm going to stop. And then things change and move, and the prices of those higher end cards starts to come down. And then, okay, now I'm going to go to the 1 to 99. It's an evolving thing. You're not going to have your collection day one. It's not going to happen. That's what this is. It's a hobby. It's a process. It takes time. You're curating something. So, yeah.
2 other topics I want to make sure that we talk about here. We've been going for an hour and 22 minutes.
That flew.
Right. So I want to talk about some common mistakes, and then how to save for a couple good purchases, even though you might, like we said, everybody's got a different level of budget and stuff like that. But even for somebody on the lower end of the scale, a couple ways to save for those couple good purchases a year to add a couple gems to your collection. So some mistakes. I'm going to hit a couple and then we can go around the table. My biggest one, and I've been guilty of it myself when it comes to collecting as a whole, not just trading cards, is don't try to best somebody else's collection. If that's your goal, if your goal is to be the best, there's always going to be somebody else. With the Doctor Strange collection I have in totality, I know of a couple other collectors in the United States too that have larger collections than mine. And I acknowledge that. And I know that there's some Saudi prince overseas or somewhere that's got every Ditko, that's got, they can spend millions of dollars a year on their collection that isn't public and nobody will know about. And I started off as a completionist, and I could be a completionist. I could collect every single Doctor Strange thing that came out until they started changing the way trading cards were produced and issued. And then once the MCU movies came out, and then it's just that there's so much that's flooded, you got to figure out where you're going to put your money in. Yes, I still consider myself a completionist to the aspect that I still try to get a representative sample of everything. But it's You have to acknowledge that, hey, there's always going to be somebody with a better collection than you. Even Steve Aoki and whoever, there's somebody else you don't know about that's going to have a better collection. So don't be, I don't want to say embarrassed or intimidated by other people's collections. And on that, kind of going back to the face group stuff and that, don't jump on people's posts. If somebody's very proud of something they just got and they're posting it, don't put a
Absolutely.
comment on there, but do you have this? And then post your one of one, or do you have
Absolutely.
whatever? Wait to be solicited for that. Give them a congratulations, and
Right.
that's really cool, and support them. Don't jump on their post and basically try to one up them on something that they're proud of, because that's just a real shitty thing to do. And a lot of people do it. And it goes back to ego. It's, I know some collectors whose ego is bigger than Stephen Strange's ego is. And you know it the first time you talk to them. And it's don't be that person. If somebody's posting something because they just got their first Marvel Masterpiece card or whatever, don't jump on there and try to one up them on their posts. Let them have their moment and support them when they do that. So you'll go down not only a monetary issue but a psychological issue if you start collecting in that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Because you will never be there. And the next thing you know, it's like when World of Warcraft first came out, you played so many hours, you literally lost your job. People were losing their jobs because
Yep.
that's the only thing they could focus on. You can't be in that mindset. And if you are in that mindset and you acknowledge it, or you think you're going down that road, talk to some friends. You got friends on Facebook, you got other collectors, people who have that experience, people, like some of us here that have decades of experience, and we've gone through those, same things before. I've jumped on someone's post, and after I did that, I'm like, man, that was pretty damn stupid. And if I could delete it, I'd go back and actually delete it, because it was as like, I didn't realize that I was kind of, trying to one up him, because it's an ego thing, and we all have an ego, if you want to admit it or not. And sometimes that gets in the way of something. So, besting someone else's collection is not the great way to go. The feeling, if you don't have it, you're not, or if you don't have a one of one, you're not a real collector. If you don't have the original art for that card, you're not a real collector. And there's lots of people and lots of groups out there that's exactly their mindset, because they've got the money to do it. And that's perfectly fine. If you've got the income and the money to support that, good for you. But that does not determine how good of a collector you are. Yeah, it's nice to have some of those stuff if you can afford it, but don't think that or don't let somebody else try to tell you that you're not a real collector. So I've had people for comic books and other things, do you got this? Then you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like,
Yep.
Let's step off of Facebook and head out in the alley, and I'll tell you exactly what I think.
And I'll beat you with this book.
And then the other thing, real quick, and then we'll pass it on the table, is FOMO, which Tony kind of mentioned too. Yeah. And everybody gets this to some extent. It doesn't have to be collecting, just in life in general, the fear of missing out. And that's why for the modern sets, as soon as those breaks start hitting YouTube, you want to buy your cards. You think that if I don't get them now, I'm not going to get them. Well, I'm here to tell you, even the 101s, a lot of those eventually will come around. If you're a long-term collector, people die, their collections come up in estate sales, they come up for auctions on Heritage and other places. So even the most rarest stuff has a good chance of eventually coming back to market. So anything else, anything above a 1 in 20, there's no reason why you've got to buy it now, because all those haven't even come out of the boxes yet. So the 20, the 25 is kind of my bar, where I know that, hey, if there's something super cool that I'm just in love with and it's a 1 of 10, I may hop on that a little sooner, pay up for it a little sooner, a little more than I would. And I know that, hey, I'm paying more than I should for on this card, but I want that card in my collection. But think about that FOMO. All these cards, rarity, it's manufactured rarity. Those cards will surface again, and you'll have another chance at them. So, all right, what do you guys think?
I will first piggyback off of what you mentioned a little bit, Don. Someone told me a long time ago, and I think this is a valid experiment to try on yourself. If you have your collection, even if money was no object, and you could have every single card out there that you wanted, and there was no Facebook, no Instagram, nowhere to show your cards or anything, would you be happy with your collection? That's really what it is. Because everything else, like you said, is about ego and showing off and whatever. And
Yep.
I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. I love showing off my cards, but I think I
Yep.
mentioned it in Jimmy's podcast once. I like seeing everybody's collection too, even if it's a dollar card. It get excited for people, like you mentioned. Um, the other thing is you're gonna make mistakes. Learn from them. I learned a lot from my Jordan days, and that took me to the point of just walking away from everything. But all those things that made me walk away are things that I brought into coming back, and now those are things that I don't make mistakes with. um, be be true to your budget. There's going to be, like Don said, there's going to be that one card that comes along that you want really, really bad. Do your research, figure out what a good price is for you, figure out if you've got to save a little bit for it. To Don's point, everything comes back around. There's no reason to rush to pick it up right away. um, and make that your, this is my goal for the next month, 2 months, or whatever, to find this card, at my best price. um, do your due
I've,
diligence. Again, you're going to make mistakes. Don't get caught up in the FOMO, like Don said. Don't follow the pack. Don't just glom onto what everybody else is saying is the thing to have right now. And I mean, no disrespect to anybody. I know sketch cards are a big deal right now. I know comic cuts are a big deal right now, but they're also very very expensive because it's the flavor of the month. Even with those, have some patience. Be selective. There's a lot of wonderful artists out there that
Yep.
aren't charging you an arm and a leg. To Will's point that he made earlier, if you want a sketch card, you're probably better off finding an artist on Facebook that you like his style and give him the 20-50 bucks to get you a sketch card. And you can tell him, hey, this is kind of what I want. This is my character. And you'll be happier with it. Yeah, we all want that one of one. We all want that, uh, Gist sketch. We all want, all those guys. They're fantastic, and it's worth every penny for their work. But if you're on a budget, you kind of have to find your lane. Find your lane, and you can flourish within that lane without losing your mind. Don't get caught up in the noise, of box breaks, and this guy has everything. And people have accused me of that. It's like, God, you have everything. I don't have everything. I just don't post all my stuff at one time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And you just be patient.
patience. Exactly.
That's I've been doing Ghost Rider for 5 years now. I mean, extremely hard for 5 years.
Mhm.
And one of the cards that I could never find was a 98 sketch. That's one of the cards. One of the first pack pulled Ghost Rider sketches, period. I waited 5 years,
Yeah.
and I waited and I waited. And it just so happened that I was able to get one last year. I was able to get for a very good price too. A very good price. But at the same time, like it's the patience that I wanted to get it for the longest time. I knew it existed, but I honestly thought I could never get it because it was one of my grail cards. Like Mark Teixeira is my favorite artist. One of, if not one of the best Ghost Rider artists, of all time. And for me, it's patience. And I waited and waited and waited, was finally able to get that at a good price, and was, finally able to own it. But a lot of it's patience. It's, yes, you want to get the card, but you can wait and still get it later.
Yep. I just had a couple weeks ago, I showed you guys, I had a card from the 2016 set. It was out of 99, but I was never able to catch it on for sale. It took me 10 years. I just got it 2 weeks ago to fill that slot in that particular chase set. It took me 10 years. And then for other stuff that costs more money or that is just rare, here's the 1980 Ben Cooper Doctor Strange Halloween costume. There's 3 different versions of this. I've got the other ones are 2 tucked back in the drawer to pull out. But some things, for me and my collection, because I'm a long-term collector, may take me decades to add to my collection.
Isn't that part of the collecting thing?
Yes,
absolutely.
I know the cards that mean more to me were the ones that I had to wait for.
Yes.
Then when I finally find it, I am truly excited to have found it over the, hey, the Brooklyn set came out, the base came out. I picked it up. I put it in my binder. I'm happy I have it, but those aren't the cards that make you a collector. Let's put it that way. You know?
And and
Make
also
you
be-
happy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also be careful when choosing a character.
Oh yeah.
Because like so
If you want Spider-Man, if
Yes.
you
Yeah.
want,
You may
Yes,
want to
if
find
you do-
another hobby.
yeah, if you do like the higher end characters, be 100% sure that you know that you're not it could happen, but at the same time it's probably highly unlikely you're going to get out of 10 or out of 20 for a good
I would all kidding aside, you know, if you like Spider-Man, collect Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But go into it understanding what you're
Yes.
going up against.
Yes.
Because you can
yes.
collect Spider-Man, and like I said earlier, just collect all the base cards. And you'll
Exactly.
be fine. You'll be fine. But you're going to be going up against an onslaught of just pricing
Yeah.
and whatever. So just understand what you're going into. If you're not happy with what you're going into, pick something else.
Yeah, don't
else.
yeah. And you can do, and that's the thing too. It's like for like Ghost Rider, you can do different iterations of Ghost Rider.
Right.
You could do Johnny Blaze, you could do Vengeance, you could do Carter Slade, you can do Danny Ketch, Spider-Man, you can do the Cosmic Spider-Man, you can do the Spider Hulk, you can
Spider-Pig.
you could do Spider Pig, you can do like Black Suit. Like there's different renditions of each character you can do. And even if there's not a lot of base cards of it, you can get sketch cards from artists at a good commissions. I mean, there's different ways you can collect on a budget that doesn't like, oh my god, like I want this, but I'm gonna have to spend a fortune. You do not have to spend a fortune, especially the way Marvel cards are, honestly, compared to sports. Like it's night and day. Like prices in sports are, I mean, it's ridiculous. That's one of the reasons I got out of it is because they just kept doing the same thing over and over again. And that's the reason why I like Marvel cards is because they use most of the time they use different arts. They use, it's more it seems like it's more of a homage to the later days rather than sports is okay, this is the rookie now, chase this guy, this is it, chase that guy, this is it, it's a lot better, honestly, I think, of collecting non-sports than it is sports, because, and also on a budget, it's a lot, because a lot of people, they'll be like, okay, here's the $2, here's the $2 card, here's a $1 card, I don't care, here's a $1 card, but these guys who are selling be like, oh, I don't give a shit. And you can look at the card and be like, holy shit, it's like one of my favorite cards. Like, I mean, that's
the thing. You have to be, well, I guess realistic is the wrong word, but even, to Don's point earlier with variants and stuff, I'm not a huge fan of variants, but I have a bunch of them because it's like, oh, I can grab those 5 variants for next to nothing and I add them to the collection. But if you're on a strict budget, to Don's point from earlier, look at all the variants, see the color that stands out to you the most, and it's not going to cost you that much. And with all the numbered cards, I usually try and get one card that's numbered 100 or less. I don't need the under 50. If that comes along at a better price, fantastic. So set yourself up a few little rules to kind of try and stick to, and that will reflect on your pocketbook.
The Doctor Strange change, in trading cards, I considered Doctor Strange my made up tier 3 or a tier C character until the MCU movies came out. And then he's in every set. He's in sets he has no business being in.
I know.
And if he's in a set, if your character is in any set these days, he's in 10 different parallels or 10 different chase sets and 10 different whatever. So I went from only needing a card 2 or 3 from every set to looking at the completionist. I need 30 cards now from every set, because that's how these sets are set up. But obviously, you can roll it back and pick the ones you want and things like that. But Doctor Strange took a significant jump because now I consider him a tier B character. He's not a Spider-Man. He's not a Thor. He's not a Captain America.
Yep.
But he's definitely a level B where he's getting some good money, and that's because of the MCU movies. So things can change. You know, if you're what you collect ends up getting out of your price range, then it's time to evaluate and maybe shifting something and picking Paste Pot Pete or.
But think of the fun. Think about how exciting it is if you pick some random character that you're picking up for next to nothing because he's the guy you like, and then all of a sudden Marvel decides to make a movie and it's popular and everything, and now all of a sudden you're playing on a gold mine, you know, and you weren't even trying.
I like. I was doing some Bats for a while. Bats is Doctor Strange's dog, you know, and he's been in a few of the sets now. So there's some really kind of expensive ways to collect adjacent characters. That's the Black Diamond set. That was the first set that really jumped in price. Black Diamond, when it came out, Marvel Black Diamond. One, I don't like the live action sets as much as the art sets.
Same.
But Black Diamond, it was a sports theme set. But when they did it in Marvel, that's the first $300 a box set that hit that price point, and I was losing my mind. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get a card from that set. I just need to get a card. Well, I ended up going down the rabbit hole, and I've got almost every Doctor Strange, Wong, Caecilius, Ancient One, because the cards are so stinking good. I decided to collect some Doctor Strange adjacent cards, and I spent a significant amount of money doing it.
Right, but you didn't get them all in one time. It took
time.
Oh
no, you can't.
So,
yep.
It takes
all right. So let's move on real quick and just talk about a couple ways that we can talk about a budget, or a couple ways that we can actually do this. Number one, I'll start off and saying, if your card collection or collecting in any aspect is affecting your marriage, is affecting you being able to pay rent, is causing you to foreclose on your house, something's wrong and you need to seek help, because it is an addiction. Collecting in and of itself is the definition of addiction. It's just what level of an addiction is it to you, and you need to. And I say this with all honesty and all sincerity, that if you start getting into trouble, you may not be able to get yourself out of trouble because it's a psychological thing. It's an addiction. You need help, and you need to start talking to somebody.
It can also spin out of control really fast.
Oh, really fast.
Yeah.
It marriages. It puts you in bankruptcy. There's a lot of stuff that we talked about how to keep, your cards on a budget and to the lower end of the spectrum as far as spending, and still enjoy your collection. But once you start moving to that next tier or two, as you're getting more into it, you can really get yourself into trouble. So please, if these are affecting your life, your spouse, your kids, your ability to pay your bills, you have a problem and you need to talk to somebody. There are real therapists that deal with this type of addiction, but I'm saying at least talk to a friend, one of your Facebook people or some other people, and say, hey, I think I'm, starting to have an issue, and just start talking about it and realizing that you do have an issue. It's like anything, like alcoholism or anything else, you need to first know that there's a problem,
right?
Where you can start dealing with it. All right. So how do we save money? So let's say we're doing the $2, $3, $5, $10 card thing. And that's what our collection has been based off of, but we want to add a couple gems. We want to pop in a $50, maybe $100 card. And then you can bump this up and take this kind of, if you're normally collecting $50, $100 cards, you want to get a 101 finally, or eventually. It's no different than doing I know kids these days probably don't know what a budget is or what that word means. But you need to sit down and break out a piece of paper, or open up a Word document and start typing down what your goal is. You can't effectively spend your money on these grails, on these gems you want to add to your collection, until you come up with a plan. That's the easiest way to do it. So what I do is I'll typically at the beginning of the year, I'll lay down what my goal for the year is and what my long-term goal, meaning 5-year goal or beyond, is. And I have a few things in each one of those categories. The 5-year goals are the ones that cost a lot. They're the things that I'm not picking up today or probably this year. These are things I need to squirrel a little bit of cash away every now and then I'll eventually be able to pay for it. And Once you've got it kind of listed out and say, okay, these are the couple cards that I want to try to pick up this year. How do I get that money, or how do I meet those goals? And for the long term, when that grail does hit, how do I have money ready to go to be able to get that grail? So the tidbit I'll throw out there is, when I was a kid, when I wanted my pack of Star Wars cards, I had to put pennies in my piggy bank. And once a week, I'd open up that piggy bank and see how many nickels, dimes, and quarters I had. If the Tooth Fairy came along, if I got my allowance, I could see how much money I had in there. And I could see, okay, I can get 2 packs of Star Wars cards today. I can get a pack of Battlestar Galactica on Monday. Nowadays, being adults, we're obviously, hopefully not at the piggy bank stage anymore. But I kind of do the same thing, honestly, because
I was going to say, I'll explain my process and you'll see why.
I don't want my collecting to affect my life.
Every day,
Meaning,
yep.
I don't want it to affect my regular finances outside of collecting.
Yep.
So I took that same piggy bank theory, but I did this. Okay, just take just a second to grab it. All right, are you ready for this high-tech savings scenario I've got for you here? And it works. It really does. And this could be technically for any level of collector. But many, many, many years ago, everybody was cash. And just like pennies, you got tired of singles fattening your wallet up and destroying your wallet.
There you go.
So instead of the change jar, what I would do is, when I got singles, every couple of days, once a week, every Saturday, I'd pull the singles out. And back then, I'd throw them in a checkbox. Yep. Because we all wrote checks to pay our bills, and they came in those little cardboard boxes that were the perfect size for bills.
Yep.
And I basically did that. And when convention time came around, I pulled out my piggy bank of ones, and you'd be surprised on how much money was sitting in there. And it's just like the pennies, those dollars you don't miss. For most people, you don't miss those dollars. They're kind of an inconvenience.
Yeah.
And over the course of a year, getting ready for a convention or getting ready for a show or getting ready to add 1 or 2 of those gems, that's money you can spend that isn't coming out of your bank account.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
Don, you're not earning interest on that. Well, most people's checking and savings accounts, unless it's a money market account or
Don't
something
earn
like that, you ain't earning shit on it to start with. And $100, $200, $300 isn't making you 50 cents, or whatever. So that's why I don't keep it in a bank. If you're a big time investor in collecting, then you're putting money into money market accounts and other things, and then taking that money out a couple times a year. And because your interest is thousands of dollars, which is going to help towards your purchases. For other people, talking at the level we're talking about, this is where it's the mad money. This used to be the vacation money. This used to be whatever. I'm old enough now in a point in my career where I've got vacation money. I've got, I don't have to worry about that. This is the little secret money. So when I go to buy something or go to a convention and want to buy a piece of art, I can kind of tell the wife that was just the singles in the drawer. That was, she kind of enjoys sometimes when I pull out the big stacks of singles. She's like, where you been all weekend? It's like, no, this is from 6 months, saving up. And you'd be surprised. So if you're on a budget, something as simple as that can accumulate you enough money potentially to add some of those short-term gems to your collection without affecting your finances or anything else.
See,
all right, I'll pass it on.
I use a so me and my wife, we have a joint account for all of the bills, stuff like that. But then I have a separate account that's like my spending accounts. And that's exactly what I have. So it's like, okay, I have this amount. This is all I got.
Right.
So either you save more of it or you're pretty much fucked.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what I've done is, how I do it is I opened a SoFi account, which it actually helps build interest, which is nice. Now you have to, like you said, you have to put quite a bit into it for it to build interest. But at the same time, it's nice for me because I'm planning on making big purchases next year. So what I'm doing basically is I'm taking some money out in cash, I'm putting some money in savings just for, something happens to the house or anything. I got that money. Plus, I'm putting money in that SoFi account, which is nice. When I did that SoFi account, is I transfer money through my checking account, but when I transfer the money, it takes a couple days to get there. So that's less days that I have the ability to spend it rather, than to get paid. So that helps. So there's different ways you can save. But if you like Don said, if you want something so bad, that save your money up and then use that to get a big purchase or another big purchase.
I've done the exact same thing with the second bank account. Before I retired, when I had my full-time job, I still taught on the side, and I didn't have to. I didn't need to do it. So that was the mad money. That went into a lot of it went into a separate account, and that's where I was able to, because we don't have any separate accounts. We're old enough. We never did a joint and separate accounts kind of thing. Our money's our money. With I die or we get divorced, she's getting half of it regardless, so it doesn't matter. So we never did what most people do these days. But I did have a separate account set up just for that, and it was money that didn't matter what came out of that account. That was just money we didn't need. That was money that didn't go to anything else. And if we needed extra money for vacation, we could pull out of that account too. It kept it separate from our living, and we're old school. We always had, we saved until we had 3 months of income, always in a bank account in case somebody got laid off, and whatever, those types of things.
Something happens to the house, there's always something. I mean, when we bought this house, I had to change the fucking water heater out. I had to new air conditioner. We had 3 things happen in less than 3 months. So it's like, oh shit. But the good part, we saved.
That's called
money.
Adulting.
We saved money, so we didn't have to worry about it. So that's the whole premise. Is if you're gonna go on the budget, make sure your wife understands and you understand that, hey, this is what's going on, this is what I would like to spend, and then if she could be okay with it or not okay with it, that's what you have to decide on. Because that's what we did, is I figured out exactly how much we could spend. She's like, okay, it's fine, we can afford that just fine. I said, if we ever need it, we have it. And she's like, don't worry about it, we're fine. But that's what you have to do, is if you're going to be collecting this and collecting it on a budget, you have to, if you're married or have have whatever, you have to be 100% transparent. Don't be like, oh fuck, I'm gonna take this money, and then you're gonna be like, well, how are we gonna pay bills? Well, I don't know.
Once you start doing that, that's a sign that there's a problem.
Exactly. Be 100% transparent. That's for sure.
Yeah, mine's a little bit of a hybrid between the two. And when I started collecting Jordan, and actually this leads into both your comments, I really wanted to start collecting. And I did have that conversation with my wife. And that was also when we had first gotten married. We had our first kid. So there was expenses. There were expenses. And I will be the first to say that even when you're married and even if you have kids and stuff, you're always individuals. We all have that one thing we want to do. And I don't think it's right. And this goes into that transparency and the kind of relationship you have. Your spouse, your significant other needs to understand that you all have your thing, right? And you don't want to take that thing away from somebody, again, without screwing up your everyday life or not paying bills. So what I ended up doing was I gave myself an allowance. And again, I had not a separate account for my wife, our bills and everything. We have joint accounts for everything. But for my hobby, I had a separate account, and every payday I gave myself an allowance. And it wasn't a huge allowance. It was like $20. It wasn't anything crazy. And I made the decision, much like, you guys both said, it's like I opened up an account, a checking account with a debit card, and that's where that money went. And that's the only thing I used for my hobby. And in the beginning, what I ended up doing was I told myself, okay, I'm going to accumulate $300 or $400 and leave it there. And then I'm going to start buying with my allowance. That way, if that one big thing happens to come along,
you have the money right there.
You got the money there to do it, And I'm 61 now. I still do the same thing. I can afford the one-of-ones and everything, but I just choose not to. But I still use the same system. Every paycheck, I give myself an allowance. It's a little bit more than $20, but it's not thousands. it's a realistic figure that I came up with my budget of what I'm willing to pay for stuff. And if I don't buy something this week or this month or whatever, it's just going into the backlog for something else. And I think if you stay within those parameters, are transparent with your significant others, understand there are more important things in life than your hobbies.
Exactly.
And you can find, again, that balance between everything. But I think if you take the time to think it through and separate it from everyday life, you can make it work.
Yep.
So it just takes a little time, a little effort, but you'll be happier in the long run. You're not going to have those arguments. You're not going to have those problems. You're not going to have your regrets of spending more, than you should have. All those things that we all deal with, no matter what.
What's nice about doing that is you can set up an auto deduction
Right.
that you can change at any time. So
Right.
if your life changes at some point, something happens, somebody gets sick, whatever it happens to be, you can change that or stop that for whatever time you need to, and you still have that money sitting there. I didn't years ago for kind of before all the internet purchases and that, my separate bank account, I purposely did not get a debit card for it. That way I had to go to the bank and physically withdraw the money. And that got me away from the FOMO or the whatever. If I saw something at the comic book store and I'm like, I gotta have it. I at least had a built-in hour that would give myself the second as I'm going to the bank to get the money. Because I couldn't swipe a card. I made it purposely where I had to go to the bank and give me that time to make a decision to do that. But yeah, no, those are all great ideas.
I would also say, I know some people, adults, especially somebody like me who's in my 60s, you tell people, I collect cards and comic books, and that has that connotation to it, right?
Yeah.
But don't be ashamed to tell your friends and family and whatever that you collect, because I always tell them, it's like, you know what? Instead of buying me that cheap ass tie for my birthday, just because you want to give me $10. That'll mean much more to me than that tie, because I'll put it towards my collection. And I literally, if I buy something with that money, or when I buy something with that money, hey, here's what you got me for my birthday. And there's that connection to it. It's a hobby. We all have that, those things that we enjoy. It doesn't have to make everybody happy, but tell people that you collect, because it's weird, because then all of a sudden those people are looking out for you too. So
I think the stigma is a little less than it used to be, because we kind of got the people that grew up on Pokemon and grew up on Magic and that are now adults. So it's not quite as bad as when we were younger. Where there was a different connotation to it.
Unfortunately, the stigma changed a little bit, because people think they're going to become millionaires collecting this stuff.
And see, that's the thing. When I was a kid, I grew up on Pokemon and stuff like that. Like, so like it's cool to also have that, like, the age difference between you guys compared to me. You know what I mean? Like it's very different, because, like, with me, like, I collect Ghost Rider. My wife knows that. My dad knows that. Everybody, my whole family knows that. And they're like, "Oh, that okay? Like, okay, cool. Like, I mean, he's like, I'm like, no, I collect Ghost Riders. Like, what do you mean?" So it's cool to be able to, like, even like take pictures of it, or even like have, like, you guys have websites, or even on Instagram, post your stuff, because you can go, like, I do it all the time. Like, I was like, oh yeah, I collect Ghost Rider, and I show them stuff. Like, they're like, oh wow, I've never seen that. And what's cool is once you start collecting and start picking up stuff, you could be like, oh yeah, it's from this comic, and you could be like, okay, this is the comic it's from. It's cool to be able to show people that way. You know what I mean? Like, to be able to curate.
And you're gonna have friends and family who have absolutely
no interest. It's like, okay,
and that's fine, but that's what the community's for. But to your point, it's like, especially your immediate family, I think it's important that they know what you're doing, not in a nosy sense, but they can become part of it, because my kids know. So my daughters live in Florida. My son lives an hour away. My daughter went to Boston a month or so ago. Her and her boyfriend. I get this call out of the blue, this video call, and she's like, "Hey, we were at this coffee shop, and there's this big comic book store next door. Are you looking for anything?"
I get that all the time.
So it was like, well, ask the guy if he's got this, and that's part of the fun of this. So I know they get jazzed because I get jazzed about it. So
and then if you're close to people in the community too, also, I mean, they'll call you, they'll text you,
Yeah.
hey, oh wow, look at this Moon Knight, or look at this, Doctor Strange, or look at this. Like everybody, once you start getting into the community more and more and start having like your close friends, it's a lot more
Well,
special because you don't even have
yeah,
to, yeah, you don't even
when
have to pick up anything either. You'd be like, okay, this is cool.
I was cleaning out comics a while back, and I was talking to Fausto, and I said, "Hey, do you
Mhm.
know anybody who likes?" I can't remember what it was at this point, and he had said, "Oh yeah, Raj collects that." So I contacted Raj and said, "Hey, I'm getting rid of these. Do you want them?" So and you
Yeah.
just send them to him, and Raj paid me back in a big way recently. I won't go into that, but it's the community thing. I can't
Yeah.
overstate it enough. So
Cool. All right, guys, we are 30 seconds to 2 hours. So let's
Damn.
do a last thoughts. We'll go around and do a last thoughts, and then we'll close her out. So I'll just say that, hey, anybody that watches this video after the live stream, feel free to comment in the comments to ask any questions, and we'll get back and give you some answers or some opinions and stuff like that if you'd like. And the last thing I'll just say is my name's Don, and I'm a collector. And
Hi,
an old
Don.
dude at that. All right, William, what do you got?
I just if you're gonna start collecting, have fun. Don't
Right.
overstress. Don't just relax. Have fun. Take your time to choose what you want to collect. Take your time to choose what character, what iteration, whatever you want to collect. Set that stage of, okay, I'm going to collect from this timeline to this timeline, and then just have fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I would just piggyback on that. Just take the time to figure out how you want to do this. Have patience. Understand those two things. Number one, you're not going to have everything. There is no end to this. There's no end
No.
goal. It's constantly evolving. And to Will's point, if it's not fun, really think about if you're really doing this for the right reasons.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate everybody joining me tonight.
Yeah, it was
I
fun.
think we had a fun time tonight, even just to get together and talk. So
Yep.
I know I'll see you guys later. Anybody who is watching or is watching later, feel free to check out the YouTube. I got a lot more stuff that will be coming out. I'm not one of those click and subscribe guys, but if you're interested in this type of stuff, you can check out the channel, and then I'll post the stuff on Instagram and Facebook too. So, all right,
Cool.
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, have a great night.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.